Welcome back, good friends. Brian from Apex Detail here. We've made good progress learning the rotary polisher. Let's take a break from that. Today we'll switch over to the dual action polisher. Let me teach you how to get the most out of that and how to use it properly. Here we have a test panel, and the clear on this panel is soft and it's also thin. We're going to take some measurements here with the paint depth gauge. I do have a video showing how to find out if you're working on soft or hard clear coat. I'll try to remember to put a link throughout the video here. So we're starting out with 6.14 mils thickness throughout this test area on average. I'm going to do a two-step correction for you and show you how to do that properly without removing hardly any amount of clear detectable by a paint depth gauge. Since it's soft, and since we know now how to test for the hardness of clear, I know where to start. And I'm going to grab the Eurofiber 50/50 pad and 3D1 to do the cutting. On hard clear, it would just laugh at this combination. But now we know how to detect the hardness of clear coat, and we know where to start. So this is soft, and I'm going to start with 3D1 and the Eurofiber pad. Crisscross pattern. The speed polisher is going to be between the third and the fourth speed setting. And I know on some polishers the sweet spot is 4.5 when it comes to vibration. So sure, you can go up to 4.5 maximum. You don't need to go any higher than that. You're going to cause more friction and also higher temperature. And you saw me moving my thumb. That is the only thing I have applying pressure to the polisher down onto the panel. You don't need a ton of pressure, just a little bit, and just guide the polisher and let it do the work. It avoids fatigue from you. It avoids extra friction and heat from the polisher to the panel, and we want to avoid the heat. Heat in a concentrated area on clear coat can cause some problems. We're going to talk about that in a few seconds here. In a lot of my videos, you will hear me talking about pressure and heat caused by a polisher, and that is because solids are affected by heat. Heat is caused by the friction, and friction comes from the polisher pad rubbing back and forth on the surface. Now, heat affects solids as they make the molecules and the atoms vibrate stationary compared to liquids and gas. However, that takes up more space, so it makes the material expand. So let's talk about expansion on the surface of a car. We have 3 layers: primer, base coat, and clear coat. They all expand because they're made of different chemicals, different ways. So let's talk about a panel that's room temperature, and you start to polish on that panel, and you're going after a deep scratch. So you're polishing, and you're polishing, and you're polishing with pressure and speed, because a lot of you guys, and you know who you are, like to put a ton of pressure and jack the speed up on that polisher. You are causing friction, which causes heat that makes the atoms and molecules vibrate and makes them expand. So they're going to expand in a concentrated area where the rest of the panel is room temperature, say 72 degrees, and making this layer expand. And it will expand and contract in different ways than the base coat will, because it's made of different chemicals. And the primer coat will also do that. So you have 3 layers that are expanding and contracting in different ways in one spot. So if you take a little bit of time and think about what type of stress you're putting on that clear coat by putting a ton of pressure, jacking up the speed, and then just concentrating and polishing on one spot on your clear coat. It's amazing how just tenacious the 3 layers really are. Some will fail. So you really have to watch what you're doing. Just be mindful. You don't have to go overthink it and go crazy about it and stress yourself. Just keep the arm movement fluid. Keep it moving. Keep the polisher to a reasonable speed between the third, fourth, maybe 4.5 speed setting, and pressure minimum. I just use 1 finger. I hope that makes sense. Another thing I would really like to address while I have the board here and the illustration up is I've been getting contacted a lot lately on how to remove texture in the paint, in the clear coat. And unless you have a show car that has a ton of clear, extra clear, or it's going to be a trailer queen or something parked in the garage for most of its life, you don't want to remove that. Manufacturers can make the surface of your car perfectly flat if you want to. It's textured on purpose. The texture creates peaks and valleys, and these peaks keeps objects that are coming in contact with the clear coat from really digging into it by deflecting it somewhat and keeping it held away from the clear coat by these little arms or these little peaks. I could tell you, if manufacturers made cars that had clear coats that were non-textured, completely flat, they would look absolutely horrible in no time at all with a lot of the techniques out there when it comes to washing and care and maintenance. Because a perfectly flat area, substance, or clear coat is going to get scratched very easily compared to one that is slightly textured, that is your clear coat. On a car that has factory clear coat, you don't want to remove that texture. You are removing way too much clear coat. It is ridiculous. If you see somebody out there with a T-shirt that says, Paint Slayer, and they are going after perfection and going to smooth your car out and make it look like glass, run like hell from them. It's ridiculous unless you have a show car that has extra clear coat where it doesn't matter if you shave that off and it still has plenty of clear below that to protect it. It's nonsense. So don't go for perfection and do not try to remove the texture again unless you have a show car. That's the best advice I can give you. With that said, I believe now it will be easier for all of us to understand how you can achieve a quicker cut on a cooler panel. And how I like to achieve that is keeping it within 20 degrees of whatever the panel is room temperature. Right now it's 74 degrees and I never exceed 94 degrees. I'll keep moving or lighten up the pressure to make sure that doesn't happen. And I will achieve a quicker cut because the clear isn't expanding and isn't pliable as it heats up. It's stationary, it's cool, and you can get a quicker cut. So it's going to be a crisscross pattern, and that's equal to 2 passes, and you'll see that will be absolutely plenty to remove the imperfections on the panel. Then all we have to do is finish. Would like to note that the arm speed for correction on soft clear is going to be a little bit quicker than it will be for hard clear. On hard clear, I like to slow it down just a little bit and give that pad a little bit more time to bite in and do some more work, as the temperatures don't quite affect hard clear as it does softer clear. Something to keep in mind. So, as we switch over to finish here, it's going to be a different pad, a soft polish pad, and a fine abrasive finish. And that's going to finish up on soft clear here. I would like to go over the settings for the polisher. Arm movement's going to be the same, but the speed setting is going to be just a little bit lower. I'm going to be leaning towards the 3rd speed setting now instead of 4.5. That's what I like to do to finish. That's where I get the results that I'm looking for, slowing it down. Now, in order to avoid pigtails or anything when you're trying to finish, the cleanliness of the pad is paramount. Make sure that pad is clean. If you're doing a whole car, between every pass, between every panel, blow it out or use a designated pad cleaning brush. That's going to be one of the biggest things to look out for to keep your finished result on the panel perfect and imperfection free. That will do it. Let me remove the residue. And just because we're on a test panel here, I'll bring in a panel prep or an IP solution and make sure that all of the residue is removed. I don't like to do this while correcting because right when you're finished doing some passes, the clear is already heated up a bit and it's porous. So you've opened up the pores. You don't want to spray an IPA solution in there because that makes clear coat and paint swell. So something to avoid. We have now done a 2-step correction on soft clear. And if you use the technique I just showed you, using this paint depth gauge here, you'll see we hardly removed any clear that was even measurable. Less than 1/10 of a mil in 2 steps, and this is the turnaround that we have after the masking tape has been removed. All right, let's move on. I can give you some more tips and tricks using these dual action polishers. They come in all shapes and sizes, and when it comes to the power of the motor, anything from 500 watt up to 1,000 watt. This one here being a 21 millimeter throw, this is what I'll use on large flat surfaces like a trunk or a roof or a large hood or a nice sized door. And this will help me pick up some speed, get some large area corrected. Then as I get to the edges, you'll see I don't go over the edges and hang over the edge with the pad. I'll just come right up and butt up against one of these edges here. Coming in from the other end, I'll work down from the valley of the slope, so to speak, and come up to the peak, but not go over or hang or hover over the peak. I'll just come up, butt up against the peak, and go back down. And then another view here from the top. This is how I butt up against an edge. To protect them, hey, use some pinstriping masking tape. Protect that peak or that edge. That way you won't burn through. You don't have to worry about it quite as much. You can still practice those safe polishing techniques, but it will save your backside. What about surface areas that are too small for 15 millimeter throws and a 5-inch backing plate, or 21 millimeter throws? Then, if you can, invest in a 3-inch polisher or a 2-inch polisher. That way, the energy from the backing plate and the pad is directed right onto that surface instead of using the energy from 3/4 or 1/3 of the pad and the backing plate, like you see right here, from a regular size polisher. The 2-inch and the 3-inch polishers will also assist you in curvy areas such as this. You can, yes, be successful using a regular polisher with an 8 millimeter or 15 millimeter throw to do these areas, but you have to put them in a compromising position to do so, which could get you in trouble. Even with these polishers, you have to use them correctly, and that would be a no-no. What about really curvy areas or concaved areas or body lines and slopes? A small polisher, again, would be best if you can swing one. They are great to add to the arsenal. Without one, yeah, still can be done, but it's going to be the only time I will put a dual action polisher or a rotary on a slight tilt. That tilt will help the pad fill in that concaved or curved area, if that makes sense. And I'll try and get you the best angle so you can see exactly what I mean. You'll see that when you tilt and it fills the concaved area, it also takes pressure off the peaks or the corners that lead into that valley. That's going to do it for today's video. I hope it helps a bit. There's a lot more to cover, and we will get into it. If you're enjoying the content, please be sure to like, subscribe, share the content. Hit the notification bell. That'll let you know when we have new videos.